I want to start with a question and what image you have in your mind when I say the word intervention as it applies to drug addiction. In my mind, and I could very well be wrong, but what pops up in my mind is seeing people forcefully come into a house and take somebody out kicking and screaming to get them into a residential treatment program. What's yours, Nicole?
That show, Intervention, I used to watch it all the time. I picture that. So all sorts of scenarios of being surprised by everyone being in a room and then,
Right.
we love you, here's the letters.
We love you.
Yeah.
Tough luck, kid.
Yeah.
So we are going to answer this question in depth. Welcome to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. I'm the host, Randall Carlisle, my co-host, Nicole Slack. And we have our guest, Dave Atherton, who is an interventionist, correct?
Correct.
Okay, what about the image that we just said?
I thought the same imagery when you mentioned the show. That was my interpretation of interventions, was what I saw on that show. And I've been in the mental health field for 25 years. So in my mind, I didn't like the way the show was conducted.
Well, it's pretty hard to watch stuff like that. You know?
It is. And so to this day, so I've been doing the interventionist thing for about a year, and I have yet to do a sit around and read letters. What I do not want to do with clients is send them off to rehab and encouraging them to, that's what I'm trying to do, is encourage them versus basically putting them in a corner and saying, hey, all your family's saying this and this and this, these letters and all that guilt. Because what ends up happening is they go to treatment and they're bitter. So they're not able to work and focus on their programming because they're so angry and bitter about how my family did that to me.
Well, put yourself, all three of us are in recovery.
Right.
And put yourself in, if that would have happened to you, if it would have happened to me, I would have been so angry, I wouldn't have been open at all to any kind of constructive work.
I would not have responded well to an ultimatum. I'd be so mad.
Exactly.
So what do you do?
So what I am trying to do when the families reach out to me, it's usually moms. And when they reach out, I'm trying to build a rapport with the family first, because I really believe that if I can get the whole family unit on the same page and get this team atmosphere, so I'll work individually with all the different family members. And at some point, when I have the opportunity to meet the loved one who's struggling with addiction issues or mental health addiction or issues, when I start to work with all of them one-on-one, we all start to comprise a program, that we can present to them as far as how to get them to treatment and then what treatment looks like. And so I'm really building a rapport with the family and then with the individual with themselves. So I had a client who reached out to me on the phone. I had no idea his family told him that they hired me. And
you would scare the hell out of me if somebody said, we have an interventionist coming by to visit,
But what was cool was this individual called me, and he was still on it. He was doing cocaine at the time, and he called me, and he was just a mile a minute. Hey, bro, what's up, man? I'm Alex. He was like, hey, I was shocked. And he says, yeah, no, I heard you're going to be doing an intervention. And I was just like, yeah, no, honestly, I want to build a relationship with you, man. I really want to help you. So, let's talk. So we talked on the phone for a good half hour. He gave me his story, and I basically built a rapport while he was still in active addiction and encouraged him to go to treatment. He was willing to go when he was done with his little run, so much so that this guy ends up driving to Sacramento trying to find the rehab, calls me and is like, I'm ready, man. I'm here. Let's do this. Let's go. And it was just, I was laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's there. We didn't even plan. So ended up getting in touch with the rehab, the coordinator, and we got him into treatment. And he's been clean ever since. Been clean for over 3 months.
Ever?
Yeah, because generally my whole attitude, especially working in the mental health field, I worked with mentally ill kids for 17 years, and then I worked with mentally ill inmates for 5 years. And then I've been doing my business for 3.5 years now. But when you work with kids, generally you're going to have resistance, right? And in this job field, there's going to be resistance first. So that's my focus is, hey, they're going to say no.
Yeah.
Just already be prepared for a no. So when you get a yes that quick, take it. So
Huh. And you know of which you speak. You want to share a little of your background? I mean, the one that stood out on me when you sent me some information about yourself was that you passed out from an overdose on a plane and ended up in a coma.
yes.
What? Talk
Yeah.
a little about your past.
Yeah, my past, the quick version would be that as a little kid, I was really into risk reward. So I was always really into being willing to do the things the other neighborhood kids weren't willing to do. Because that's how I built my self-esteem. They thought I was courageous, and it was just a way of building myself up.
I could see the other kids. What? We won't do it. Ask Dave. He'll do it.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
He'll do it.
And what was great was I struggled so much in school that self-esteem wise, I had really low self-esteem when it came to school. Then when it came to recess or being in the neighborhood playing, that was my opportunity to shine. So I was going to take advantage of it. But with that's going to come at some point drugs and alcohol. So fourth grade, I started drinking alcohol out of my parents' liquor cabinet. They would head off to
Fourth grade?
Yeah, just so I could say I did it.
You were 10.
Around that, yeah.
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 Okay.
But I just wanted to be able to go to school and say, yeah, I drink a little alcohol for school.
Wow, man. Dave drank last night.
Yeah, and so then they view you as wild. You're that wild guy. So then fifth grade came, tried cigarettes, marijuana. Sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, continued those things, but then implemented mushrooms and LSD.
Jeez.
And by the time I got to high school, I felt like a grown man who, in the world of drugs and alcohol, I thought that I was such a big deal. Like, yeah, I've been there, done that. And what ended up happening in high school was I fell in love with the game of football. It was the first time I got to play organized football. And talk about self-esteem. It was like, I'm really good at something because I absolutely struggled all through school. And to be able to play this game and it just came so naturally, it was just, I loved it more than anything else.
More than the drugs.
More than the drugs. And it's how I kept my distance from drugs and alcohol for a period of time. But with the game of football, you're going to have injuries. And with those injuries is going to come pain pills at some point. And the first time I got to taste pain pills, I knew that was the drug for me. I was a sophomore in high school, and I thought, this is going to be a problem at some point in my life. But I love the game of football so much, I just stayed focused on football. You're not putting a lot of thought into that. But yeah, so later in life, long story short, I was an alcoholic for 13 years, and then I was addicted to pain pills and heroin for 6 years. So in 2012, I overdosed on an airplane and was in a coma. And when I woke from the coma, my dad sent me to a 6-month abstinence-based drug rehab in California. And I've been clean ever since. But I always want to say that that's where my journey really began, was when I left the rehab. That's the real story. So
Did you, did you go willingly?
yeah, yes and no. I knew the gig was up. I was one of those individuals that hid my addiction from everyone because I had family and friends that I knew would have sent me to rehab had they known what was going on with me. So everyone who was around me knew that I drank. And I always had it in my head that I'm just good at drinking. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just like, I'm not the Michael Jordan of drinking, but I'm in the league. You know what I mean? And that was my attitude. But everybody knew the drinking was there. But no one other than my dealers knew that I was doing heroin and I was doing a lot of Oxycontin was my main pain pill.
I was told I went through 4 divorces during my alcoholism, and they'd always complain that you're an alcoholic. And I said, no, I'm not an alcoholic. Right. I just drink a lot because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So, so you were the king of drinking and hiding your drugs. What did you overdose on the plane? How did? Right.
I started to go through withdrawal symptoms. That's a funny question because a lot of people, when they ask this, I didn't overdose from the opiates. It was muscle relaxers, of all things. So I don't share it too often just because I always think people are never going to believe me. But I was taking 40 to 50 Oxycontin a day and, smoked 2 grams of heroin a day. And what ended up happening is in my brain, if I'm going to ingest any sort of pill, I need to take them by the dozens. So I would wake up and do 25 Oxycontins. They were 40 milligrams. Oh, and exactly why you transitioned to heroin. But before the airplane, I started to go through withdrawal symptoms because I ran out of the pain pills. And at the time, I was on a business trip in Michigan. And when I went to an emergency room to try to manipulate to get some pain pills, that I had gotten red flagged because I had done that so many times in Michigan. So I just went out to the car and I'm like, well, I have all those muscle relaxers in the car. So I took like 50 or 60 of them, and later found out that the number one side effect of taking that many muscle relaxers is paranoia. So on the airplane, I started to flip out, and I guess I was seeing squirrels and bunnies, and I was out of it. I barely remember the whole airplane.
I'm glad I wasn't sitting next to you.
Yeah, I know there was a married couple, and they were concerned about me.
Yeah.
But I wish I could reach out to them. You know what I mean? It's like I look back on that. There's people that witnessed that.
No, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So were you arrested when you got off the plane, or how?
No, they immediately put the paramedics were waiting for me. And so when I got off the airplane, I went with them. I don't remember the ambulance ride. All I remember from that whole experience before they put me in the induced coma was being basically down to my underwear, and I was 4-pointed. So I was chained to the bed, ankles, arms, and I remember screaming at the top of my lungs, flexing every muscle in my body. Because keep in mind, I was going through withdrawal symptoms from the opiates. And so I remember that for about 2-3 seconds. And then days later, I woke up from the coma.
Wow.
So you get out of rehab, and when did you start going into helping people?
Beautiful question, because I had already done X amount of years working with mentally ill kids in residential facilities. So I wanted to get back into that. But I knew at some point I wanted to get into the world of substance abuse and helping people, because naturally, when you get clean, that's all you want to do is give back. Because what those staff did for me in rehab, I mean, the people who work in rehab and have that impact on our life, like, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing what they do. So when I got out, I got back into working with mentally ill kids. I was up in Portland, Oregon.
So you did that before you even went to rehab. You were already working with kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a college kid. I played college football. I went off, played college football, and I was out in Missouri playing football. And when I got my first job working with kids, I mean, I was partying every night. I'm not proud to say this, but I remember mornings going to work still intoxicated. And those kids loved me on a Friday morning. They're like, Dave sings to us. And
Jeez.
But yeah, no, so that was my early days in the mental health field.
So you were already in the helping people field. So you had like an
loved it.
in when you
Absolutely.
decided to do it.
Absolutely.
Just not yourself.
No, and it's funny you say that, because that's exactly what was happening. I got so into helping the kids and coming up with interventions on how to help them deal with whatever they were dealing with. I would get so invested into them, and created so much distance from myself that, drugs, alcohol, that was the great escape.
So you went to, it was 6 months,
Yep.
and it was total abstinence.
Yes. Yeah. That was rough.
What was that? I was going to say, but
Vitamins and water and food.
but you were done with the dope sickness and all that kind of stuff by then.
Yeah, what I found fascinating was the first week they had a lot of staff during the detox portion. You're one-on-one with the staff at all times. And what I appreciated about that is I had tried to kick probably 40 or 50 times over the years. I was going so hard because I was making good money for a period of time. And then, my tolerance got worse and worse. So coming off of it with someone next to me and walking me around, and we'd go out and go on walks in California out in the woods. And it was the first time where I actually felt like my withdrawal symptoms, that was the easiest that they ever were. Because I had someone there to pay attention to me. Because what they were doing was they were keeping us busy. So for instance, you touch a plant, you touch the leaf, what's that feel like? Does it feel like metal? Of course not. So they're asking you these silly questions, And I didn't realize at the time what they were doing is just keeping me distracted the entire time. And so I thought that was cool. I appreciated the technique.
Do you use any of those now?
Sometimes I do. I'll stare at a wall just if I'm getting too deep in my head.
Yeah.
Stare at a wall, I'll touch it, think about it, try to put thought into those bricks,
Yeah.
So how long have you been in recovery then?
13 years.
13 years.
Yep.
Gee, that's how long I've been in recovery.
Yeah.
Well, and I met somebody who relapsed after 13 years too. So you ever worry about that? How do you, just obviously the fact of you working with people who are dealing with addiction or mental health issues
Right.
didn't keep you from using. So how do you take care of yourself right now?
I appreciate the question, man. I look at when I got out of treatment, the journey really started to begin with, what am I going to do to stay sober? And when I went to the store, I'll never forget this moment. I went to a grocery store. I got some groceries. And I went up to get the groceries and pay for them. And the store clerk, "Hey, how you doing today, sir?" And I started sweating profusely. And I could barely spit out a word. I'm like, I'm fine. And all these thoughts in my head were like, she knows I just got out of rehab. She knows I'm in recovery. And all of those self-esteem issues, there's so many years that we're intoxicated. We don't know how to socialize in a sober set or actually back in society. Because what I felt in treatment for 6 months, I was a part of a community, part of a tribe that understood me. There was no judgment. There was we were bonding. And even if I didn't like certain peers, I respected them. You know what I mean? So when I got out, that was a really hard lesson was, I have social anxiety.
Oh.
You've got to be kidding me.
I understand.
And I didn't realize this was going to be a part of my territory for years to come. So what I did was exposure therapy. I went to that store every single day until I stopped
How
sweating.
you doing, sir?
Took me months. Yeah, and I'd sweat every day. And I just had to face that discomfort. So what my wife and I have done over the years, so my wife is in recovery as well. We actually met in rehab.
Not supposed to do that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and say the disclaimer. That's not the spot to find love, not at all. But what happened for her and I when we were in treatment was we had a friendship, we had a bond. I knew what she was driven and determined to go do, and that's to be a mom, be a better daughter, be a better sister. She had her mission. She was taking this moment serious. I was taking my moment serious. So we were both parallel, and by the end of the program, like, I think I kind of like you. And so we ended up making something of it, and we've been together for 13 years and laughed every single day for the last 13 years. So that's been beautiful. But when we designed getting to a place of business, we really wanted to paint this picture of what it's like to get back into society. So I initially started an aftercare program. That's what I started my business as. So I didn't start with the intervention thing because I was just like, I watched that show. I didn't like how they did it, so I don't want any part of that. So I started an aftercare program because I want to help educate the families and then work with the individual as far as getting back into a daily routine. So a big part of what my program, at the base of my program, is habits. Our habits are everything. And my favorite moments is when I have clients that they'll come to me and be like, Dave, in your first year of sobriety, did you ever notice that everybody's kind of messed up? Like the people who don't have drug and alcohol issues, they're a mess too. And I always appreciate those moments because that means they're paying attention to other people and their behaviors and what they might be going through. And so when my wife and I started talking about the importance of habits, if you think about why it is that we relapse, a lot of the time I've always heard boredom. We relapse because of boredom.
Yeah.
Well, why are we bored? Because we've had these habits that we've developed since we were little kids, and we just default to those. We hit that default button every time a situation comes up. So when we deal with hardship and we deal with adversity, have we developed new habits while we were in treatment? Did we maintain those in our years of sobriety? So what I'm really trying to get clients to do is focus on what are these little habits. And so you can say habits and this all sounds great, but how do you even start to develop those? So one of the things I always try to explain to clients is that habits are in a part of our brain that you want to look at. It's almost like a vault, and it's hard to get to because you're wanting to take out those old habits and put in new ones. And that's not an easy process to go through. So what I came up with years ago, I heard the term non-negotiable. And that put a label on what I had already been doing behaviorally, which was making my bed every single morning. I didn't know why I started doing it in rehab. I don't know. I don't even remember if we were required to, but those little kind of habits, you get those going. So the best example is my wife, when we were just starting to date, I noticed she wouldn't kiss me.
Exactly.
So we're about truth. So I asked her, I'm like, I noticed you're not kissing me. What's up? She's like, babe, your breath stinks. And I was like,
Well,
of course, my ego is destroyed and I'm devastated. But what it got me to think about was, all right, so I had one of those rotten teeth that all the drinking, all the smoking, the heroin. And so before I got that fixed, because I got a crown put in and got it fixed, but I had really bad self-esteem with my mouth hygiene. But when my wife said that, I thought, I'm competitive, all right? I'm gonna floss my teeth every single day for the next 30 days, and we're gonna see who's making out with who, all right? And so my whole attitude was 30 days, I'm flossing my teeth. So what I always like to ask people is, imagine putting yourself in my shoes. You haven't been flossing, now all of a sudden you're flossing every single day for 30 days. And I give you chicken wings and ribs and celery and corn on the cob, all those things that get stuck in our teeth. And then I say, nah, Randall, go ahead, go back to your old ways. Go back to your old habits. What do you think you're going to say?
yeah, exactly.
And so that's what you're doing with the non-negotiable is you're making conscious thought every single day, I'm going to do this simple act. And the idea is to aim low. So something like flossing, you're talking 60 seconds, no more than 2 minutes to floss your teeth.
Yeah.
You can do that. So if it's just one article of clothing in the hamper, however low we got to go to just get you programmed to start developing a non-negotiable. You're doing this every single day. And then that retrains, your brain as far as new habits.
So you have a company now, or what? I mean,
Yeah, I'm running.
If somebody watching might say, "Well, I might like to employ the guy," how does that work?
Well, I do. I run my own business. My wife is 50%
what's it
owner.
called? I mean,
Atherton New Living. So you can look up I have a website, www.athertonlive.com, and Atherton is spelled ATHERTON, and then the word live, LIVE.com. So you can look me up. Phone number's on there. And Randall, my focus is one-on-one. I think there are
I saw that, and my thought was that's got to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, I think it's expensive. And then when you look at, other programs, it's what it is. But is it all right if I tell the price?
I don't care. It's up
All
to
right.
you.
So interventions, I charge $3,000, but I look at the interventions and what I'm doing with the interventions is it's almost until the mission is complete. The reason interventions don't work is because the interventionist gave up too quick. He thought, all right, well, we sat around, we read these letters, the person decided, no, I guess not. So we're not doing it. I expect a no. That's what we're doing. This individual is going to say no.
Yeah.
So we're gonna then, what's our next move? And I'm with you until we get the person the help that they need. So that's my idea.
Virtual?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So FaceTime's almost easier. So
Yeah.
anywhere throughout the country is available, and as well as throughout the world. So
And you live in Nevada.
yes, in Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
Yep.
But you deal with people everywhere.
I mainly am Reno right now. That's one of the reasons I'm here in Salt Lake is promoting and connecting because, Reno, we have the rehabs that we have, and then there's Sacramento's not far, and then there's down in Vegas. But I want to branch out. I want to start introducing myself. I don't know anything about business. I've been working in the mental health field for so long. But the one thing that I did learn from my addiction was that, let's go back to my childhood, risk reward, was that in the world of drug addiction, you're willing to do the things no one else is willing to do. That's what we're doing every single day. And so when I look at those of us that when we're in active addiction, we're doing things that we didn't think we were ever going to possibly do. How do you channel that energy into your sobriety? So when I knew I wanted to start a business, I remember thinking, Dave, you know nothing about business. No. But here I am just doing it. So part of my everyday process is, well, at what point am I going to embarrass myself today? Am I going to make that phone call where I'm nervous to make that call? Because that's what holds us back, is that I believe that addiction, a big part of it is what it stems from is, yes, trauma. But why is it that we're scared to push ourselves, to better ourselves, to do more? Because what I discovered in rehab was that everybody was creative. I was like, man, these are like the X-Men of human beings right here in this treatment center. These are all beautiful, wonderful, unique people who doubt themselves. And there I am working in the mental health field all these years thinking, my job's to tap into your potential. And so I needed to tap into myself, and I really needed to get those first 10 years of sobriety under my belt and focus on myself. And with that, was able to start my business and embarrass myself, learn a lot, and just go
yourself is normal though, because
it is.
You've put yourself in these terrible situations. You're making all these terrible decisions, and now you're sober, and they're like, make good decisions. Well,
yeah.
My history will tell you I'm really good at bad decisions. So that's where my doubt came from. I was like, I don't trust myself. So someone to coach me on the way, that's what I needed. So I think doubt makes sense.
Yeah, and I always like to say that I'm a cheerleader. So I'm all about motivating, inspiring, and encouraging you. The beautiful thing about treatment is judgment went away. All of a sudden you're in treatment and you feel like the way we judge one another in society, or what the stories we tell ourselves in our head, like we're sitting here talking about, those things, they haunt us all day, every day. But when you're in treatment, you're amongst a bunch of peers where you're not feeling that judgment, so you feel free to be yourself. Well, how can I practice being myself in society? So all the clients that I work with, we're looking at the bigger goal. What do you really want to do with your future?
Yeah.
And that's what I really want to target, is because I think there's more to all of us. And all of us that are in recovery, we naturally feel that I want to be of a service to other human beings. I want to help people. And whatever that looks like for you, then fantastic. That's generally the response I get, because we get out of treatment and the first thing we want to do is help someone else.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, because most of the clients we have, when we talk about their future, that's exactly what they say. I want to give back.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's beautiful.
Well, I know it is beautiful, but I never thought about the motivation behind that.
Yeah.
So you can be hired to do one-on-one. If I have a relative, a loved one, or whatever, I can get a hold of you.
Absolutely.
And it'll be one-on-one kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And a big part of what I want to do, I do want to stress to you guys that the number one objective that I have, that I've learned over these years, I knew the parents and the family were important. I didn't realize how important. So when I'm dealing with moms that are enabling that child, bless their heart, they're beautiful moms that love their child. And I want them to continue doing that. I just want to show them other ways that they can love their child. And so working with the families is first and foremost.
AthertonLive.com.
Yes, sir.
Right? If
Absolutely.
you want to contact Dave, we're out of time. Thank you very much for coming by to visit us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Good to see you again, Nicole.
You too.
And thank you for watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.